If everything in your business feels heavier than it should, not impossible, just effortful. It's not even a word, is it? But there's a reason for that. And it's not what most people might think. Because it's not about how much you're doing. And it's all to do with how much you're holding. There is a real difference there. You can be doing a completely reasonable amount of work and still feel completely and utterly drained at the end of the day. And that's not because you've worked too many hours, but because your brain hasn't stopped. It's been tracking things, remembering things, holding conversations in the background, keeping mental notes of what needs to happen next. And most of that is invisible. It doesn't show up on your to-do list. It doesn't get ticked off as you work through the day, but it's running constantly. And over time, that creates a very specific kind of exhaustion. The kind where you sit down to work and you feel resistance straight away. You open your laptop and you don't know where to start. You move between tasks, but nothing feels like it's properly moving forward in the way that you would like it to. And that over time starts to chip away at your confidence because you end up thinking, why does this feel so hard? I should be able to handle this. I've done more than this before. And slowly you start questioning yourself. Now, I can imagine some of you are sitting there nodding along. But the reality is, it's not you. It's the structure that you're making yourself work inside of. Because right now, your brain is acting as your entire operational system. It's the place where everything gets stored, everything is tracked, everything is managed. And that's where the pressure you're feeling is coming from. Not the invisible work, but the constant mental load that sits just underneath it. And the problem is, we get used to it. You get used to feeling slightly overwhelmed. You get used to things feeling a little bit heavy and perhaps a little bit uncomfortable. So you stop questioning it and you just assume that that's what running a business feels like for everyone. It doesn't have to be that way. And this is where things can start to shift. Because when you reduce what your brain is responsible for, your energy changes almost immediately. Not because you've suddenly become more productive, but because you're no longer carrying everything all at once. And this is what calm systems are designed to do. They don't make you faster, they're not going to make you more efficient, but they are designed to make things feel lighter, to remove the constant background noise that you're living with. So when you sit down to work, you can actually think. You've got clarity around what you're doing. And one of the biggest places this shows up is in our conversations. Because at the end of the day, conversations are where your business grows. They're where people decide, do I trust this person? Do I want to work with them? Do I feel understood here? Am I prepared to hand over my hard-earned cash? But again, the conversation itself isn't the exhausting part. It's everything that evolves around it. Who do I need to message? Have I followed up? Where did that conversation go? Have I forgotten something? That is the part that's creating the pressure you're feeling. And over time, it's what makes you start to avoid it, consciously or not. And that's not because you don't want to talk to people, but because it feels like effort before you even start. And this is exactly what I wanted to remove. Because conversations are simple, they should certainly feel simple. They should feel natural. They should feel like something you can step into without needing to prepare yourself mentally first. And that's why I built the Connection Scout. It's not to replace conversations, but to remove everything around them that's making them feel heavy. So instead of sitting there thinking, who should I be speaking to today? That part's already handled for you. Instead of trying to remember where you left things off, you're stepping into something that's already structured. And what that does is it gives you your energy back, because now you're not starting from overwhelm. You're starting from clarity. And when you start from clarity, your behavior changes. You respond differently and you show up differently. You stop second guessing yourself. And that's where things really can begin to move. But there's another layer to this as well, because even when the pressure is removed in terms of finding our ideal clients, a lot of women still hesitate inside those conversations, not because they don't know their work, but because they don't want to feel like they're selling and they don't want to push. They don't want to say the wrong thing. You know, we found this ideal client, somebody we desperately want to connect with, and yet we're a bit scared. We don't want to sound scripted. And that hesitation you're feeling, well, that can be enough to stall a conversation. And even when the person you're trying to reach out to is interested in what you have to offer, even when there's opportunity written all over a potential conversation. Now, that's why I created the Conversations into Clients guide, because the most people that have been taught about selling will say it doesn't feel comfortable or natural. It feels forced. And when something feels that way, our instinct is to pull back. You hesitate, you overthink, you delay, and you miss those golden opportunities. But when you understand how a conversation actually flows, everything softens. You're not trying to control it. You're not trying to push it somewhere. You're simply responding, listening, asking, and guiding when it feels appropriate. And that's what makes the difference. Because people don't respond to pressure, they respond to presence. They respond to someone who feels calm, someone who feels clear, someone who isn't trying to force an outcome. And when you combine that with a system that removes the pressure around finding people to talk to and to start your conversations with, well, you get a completely different experience from your business. One that feels lighter, more manageable, more sustainable, and if you're looking for it, more scalable. This is where things really start to come together, because you don't need to push anymore. You don't need to drive harder. Don't need to carry everything yourself. You just need better support in the right places. And when that's in place, you don't need to feel like you're constantly racing to catch up. You don't need to feel like everything is sitting on your shoulders anymore. You just move through your business with a bit more ease, a bit more clarity, and a lot less pressure. So if things have been feeling heavier than they should recently, or if you've been sitting there thinking, why does this feel like such an effort? I'm going to challenge you to step back for a moment. It's not a personal problem, it's a structural one. And once you start changing your structure, everything else is going to become so much simpler. Now, if you want support building a business that actually feels manageable, well, I've put together some bits and pieces below that's really going to help you. And if this topic interests you, I've created a full series of calm AI systems for businesses. And you can watch the next video in that series. It'll be coming up in a moment.